Alright, Trickies and Trickers, now it's time for the final episode of Review of the Day, Past Tense, Part 2. After moving the hostages into the district processing center, Biddle Coleridge tells his friends to shoot any hostage that moves. Posing as the late Gabriel Bell, Benjamin Sisko takes control of the volatile hostage situation in the Sanctuary District by convincing Coleridge that they need the hostages alive as a bargaining chip. Suddenly, Vin bursts into the room holding a gun. Coleridge is about to shoot him when Sisko tackles Vin against the wall. In the chaos, a shot is accidentally fired and Bashir comes at a frightened Lee. Then, Coleridge wants an access code to the net and initially tries to get it from Vin. Bernardo Calvero agrees to help calm Coleridge down, just trying to get home to his wife and 2 children. Sisko says they need to block the windows, so he and Bashir start doing so, using benches. Meanwhile, Bashir expresses concern about Sisko posing as Gabriel Bell, because Bell historically died when guards stormed the building. Sisko says that he's not Bell, but everyone will treat him like so. Bashir reminds him that he and Sisko are the only 2 who know this. However, Sisko pauses to consider this. Michael Webb arrives and Sisko introduces him to Coleridge. Sisko enlists him to recruit gimmies, people that he trusts to guard the hostages and to watch over the volatile ghosts as well. Meanwhile, Josiah Dax sees news coverage of the event at Chris Brenner's apartment and realizes that she must get in the district to help save Sisko and Bashir, despite Brenner's insistence that she could be hurt. On the USS Defiant, Kieran and Miles O'Brien have narrowed down the possible time periods to 10 possibilities, but due to the limited number of chronoton particles, they have a finite number of trips they can take, not to cover all the possible time frames. Kieran Sadiqa says she has to wear a bandage on her nose to disguise her Bajoran heritage, and O'Brien advises her to say nothing and let him do all the talking. On the first attempt, they materialize in 1930 and can find no evidence of the team's presence. Before they can leave, they run into a couple leaving a party who looks at them and then runs off. Coleridge is outraged that gimmies are guarding the hostages, but Sisko empathizes the importance of having people they can trust. Coleridge tells Sisko and Webb that he intends to trade hostages for freedom, amnesty, credit chips, and ability to go anywhere they want. Coleridge wants to go to Tasmania, the birthplace of Errol Flynn. However, Sisko says they must think of the other 10,000 people in the sanctuary as well, and they will not make it far before they were caught. Webb supports Sisko and they agree to campaign for the closure of sanctuary districts, jobs to the residents, and the reinstatement of the Federal Employment Act. Sisko convinces Webb to act as a representative of the district to speak to the outside world, since he sees him as a relatable person that can't be dismissed easily as he or Coleridge. As they try to get their position across, though, their connection is broken by the police as per department policy in these situations. However, Detective Preston, a police negotiator from the SFPD, contacts them. First, she asks to see the hostages. Coleridge immediately drags Lee to the screen and threatens Preston, revealing the instability of the situation. Preston calmly asks to talk to Webb again, and so he gently pushes Coleridge and Sisko leads him away. She offers to meet in person by the main gate. Sisko accompanies Webb to the meeting and states their demands. Preston agrees to relay them to Governor Robert Chen and also agrees to do her best to supply the residents with breakfast. Bashir finds out that Lee is hypoglycemic and offers to help her find treatment. Lee races Sisko, posing as Bell, and she gave her false name when Bashir explains that Bell had run into some trouble a while back. Lee reveals that she processed a woman with a warrant on her for abandoning her child because she could not take care of him and left him with the family she worked for. Lee felt sorry for her and did not log her into the system, which would have alerted the police, instead letting her disappear into the sanctuary. Lee's supervisor almost fired her when the incident was revealed. Lee doesn't know what happened to the woman, but she thinks about her all the time. Bashir explains that it's not her fault the way things are. Lee says that everyone says that, but nothing ever changes. Later, while most of the guards are sleeping, Vin gets up and almost gets his hands on Webb when Coleridge alerts everyone and holds a gun to him. However, Sisko intervenes by pointing a shotgun toward Coleridge and prepares to shoot him, determined not to let the hostages die. Meanwhile, Coleridge sees that Sisko is serious and puts his gun down. Sisko takes Vin aside and threatens him not to do anything stupid again, but he is unmoved. Vin asks him to let the hostages go. Sisko impatiently says that Vin and the others who work at the sanctuary just don't get it. Even though they work here and see the injustices suffered by the people every day, it would be a start for Vin and the others to just acknowledge what is going on. Meanwhile, on another attempt to find Sisko and the others, Kieran O'Brien ended up in 1967, surrounded by a flowered Comey van and loud rock music. Two stone hippies come out of the van and give flowers and a peace sign to perplex Kieran O'Brien, who then awkwardly just give back the sign. Just then, they transport away and the male hippie simply says, "Wow." True to her promise, Preston has supplied Muppets and fruit juice for the residents, and Sisko makes sure Culbert shares. Danny comes aside to find his father to be with him. Webb agrees he can stay for a while, but says that Danny must go when Sisko says without question. Meanwhile, Bashir's managed to find some glycogen in the clinic and provides treatment for Lee. Bashir also tells Calvera, who is worried about his family, that something good will eventually come from all this. A short time later, Preston returns with the governor's message. They reduce the charges against Bell and Webb to incitement to riot if they release the hostages. Sisko and Webb ask whether the sanctuary will be closed and jobs offered, and Preston says the government intends to form a committee to look into the matter and that change takes time. They both reject this offer. Dex manages to find a way into the sanctuary district through some underground pipes through the sanitation department. Soon, some dims alert her presence to those at the processing center and, in the process, her combat is stolen by one of them named Grady. Sisko and Bashir try to get past the lockout to the net without luck. In the previous past, a way is somehow found to get past this lockout, and many people were able to tell their stories to the world. Bell must have found a way, so now they must do the same. Corjan brings Dax inside, and she is reunited with Dax and Bashir. Sisko and Bashir explain that they cannot leave because history must be allowed to run its course. He initially orders Bashir and Dax to head to a beam-out location using Dax's comm badge. However, Dax says she can get help to circumvent the lockout. Dax slowly recovers her comm badge from Grady with Bashir's help and heads back through the sewer. Dax returns to Chris Brenner for his help. He has doubts about helping the residents as he will lose his interface operating license for turning the channel over to criminals. Dax responds that Brenner would be giving the residents a voice, and people have the right to know their situation. When the government storms in, the sanctuary residents will die, and those deaths shan't be for nothing. Brenner agrees to help restore the processing center's computer link because, although he'll lose his license, he'll get great ratings. Once this is done, the residents are given the chance to tell their stories to millions around the planet through the network. Unfortunately, despite pleas from Preston, the government is unmoved by their plight and orders to send in troops at 0500. Kieran O'Brien returns to Defiant from the year 2048. They realize that the team arrived before then and was drastically different to the 2048 of an altered time. Using this information, they narrow possibilities down to 3 dates, only have enough chronoton particles for one more attempt. O'Brien makes a guess they materialize at the corner of Polk and California Street. They realize they have the correct time period when O'Brien detects a residual electrostatic charge and Kira contacts Dax on her comm badge. They make arrangements to rendezvous and deactivate their comm badges so that the Defiant will not recover them until the next day. In the meantime, the hostages are calmer and talking sports when Coleridge reports movement outside. Sisko and Webb tried to keep the hostages safe as SWAT teams move in without regard to their lives. Webb sends away Danny and Coleridge and gives Danny his hat. Soon the troops barge in and open fire. Coleridge and Webb are killed along with a number of others while Sisko takes a bullet protecting Vin, who is trying to stop the shooting. The lead SWAT team member calls the area secure. Vin berates them as they were reckless. The SWAT team give Vin and Calvera weapons while they go to secure other areas. Bashir examines Sisko and, fortunately, he will live. Sisko pulls Vin and berates him for not staying low, but Vin understands, finally trusting his motives. Vin and Calvera lead the group outside and are shocked by the bodies lying on the street outside. As the National Guard takes control of the situation, the grateful Vin allows Sisko and Bashir to escape by switching their ID cards with 2 of the dead. So it appears as before that Gabriel Bell died while trying to save the hostages. As he leaves, Sisko has to tell everyone the truth about the incident. Vin responds that he had planned to anyway. Soon, Sisko, Dax, and Bashir return to the 21st century, history now having following its correct course. As Sisko recovers from his gunshot wound in his quarters on the Defiant, Bashir visits and shows him one unexpected consequence of their visit to the past. Federation Historical Records was now show Sisko's portrait in an entry regarding Gabriel Bell. Shows Sisko's portrait in an entry regarding Gabriel Bell. Trying to ask him, I was seeing in the 21st century, how the people of that time could have let things get so bad. Sisko tells him, that's a good question. I wish I had an answer. Aww. So now let's take a look at some trivia surrounding this episode. The song, which is audible when Kira and O'Brien are transported in 1960s, is Hey Joe, played by the Jimi Hendrix Experience. The events in this episode take place over approximately 3 days. This is the second of only 4 DS9 episodes to not feature any scenes set on Deep Space Nine, with the exception of the regular opening credits. The others are Past Tense Part 1, Paradise Lost, and Children of Time. This was the first Star Trek production since Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home in 1986, to feature scenes set in the 20th century. The civilian clothes of Miles O'Brien and Kira Nerys wear during the various travels through time are the same clothes they wore during their mission to Cardassian 4 to rescue Lee and Alaz in The Homecoming. This episode was last aired before the premiere of Star Trek Voyager on January 16, 1995. This was the last of 12 Deep Space Nine episodes, the first being Search Part 1, that premiered with another Star Trek series also on the air. All episodes of Deep Space Nine before Search Part 1 and after this premiered while another Star Trek series was also running. Before Search Part 1, Next Generation, after this episode, Voyager. Sisko discusses the London Kings of Buk-Bokai with Vin, played by Dick Miller. Both the player and the team were first mentioned during Miller's first Star Trek appearance, and the Star Trek The Next Generation episode, The Big Goodbye. In this episode, aired in 1995, Sisko states that the 2015 London Kings were the greatest team in baseball history. Vin claims it was the 1999 New York Yankees. In reality, the Yankees did win the World Series in 1999, but the Yankees team of the previous year won 16 more games and has been often called one of the greatest teams ever. The accuracy of their prediction is surprising given that, while the Yankees were clearly a team on the rise in early 1995, the results suggest that the team would go on to dominate the latter half of the 1990s the way they did. Incidentally, the real-life winner of the 2015 World Series were the Kansas City Royals, with a team with a similar mascot logo and primary color to the fictional London Kings. After Sisko tackles Vin to the ground, BCE is impressed and, in reference to baseball, states that he hates to be a catcher seeing Sisko barreling towards home plate. At the time this episode aired, plate collisions were still a fairly common occurrence and were among the most violent plays in baseball. In real life, plate bugging rules in baseball were changed for safety reasons in 2014, and home plate collisions are banned in nearly every circumstance. The official Star Trek chronology states that the 2 years to which O'Brien and Kira travel back in time and help find the others are 1930 and 1967. So overall, I think that as a conclusion to this two-parter, this episode is really dang good, and yeah, it is kind of weird that Sisko's portrait was used for the late Gabriel Bell's portrait, but what you gonna do? So yeah. So overall, I give Past Tense Part 2 5 warp cores out of 5. Well, anyway, tune in tomorrow as we take a look at the next episode, Life Support. So, until then, live long and prosper, everybody.